Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Happy Friday, and welcome back to another episode of Tisha Talks Live, where I get to bring you the coolest entrepreneurs, business professionals that I get to meet and learn a little something on this Friday, too. So before I bring in my guest, Rachel Jenks, out of Colorado, she's with the Brand Boss Studio. We're going to be talking today all about the power of authenticity and personal brand building. You know, it's my favorite topic, of course. So we're going to have a great discussion on that. We're really going to be talking more about personality versus identity. So I'm really, really excited to talk about that with her too. But before we do that, a couple of announcements that are coming up, and a big thank you to Gateway Bank. Gateway Bank is out here in Arizona, and they are my sponsor for Social Connect Phoenix. And for Tisha Talks Live. So special thanks to James Christensen and his wonderful team over at Gateway Bank for being such a big supporter of everything that I get to do, all the fun stuff. And then, of course, Social Connect Phoenix, just a couple weeks away, is on April 12th. This is my networking business happy hour. So if you are in the Phoenix area and you just want to get around some really cool peeps in a kind of a cool backyard vibe setting, this is the place to be. We're actually kicking off our 3-year anniversary. So food, drinks, dessert, you name it. We also have a really great panel discussion for Success Over Struggle with my 3 dynamic J's, Julia, Justin, and Joanna joining me, where I get to ask them all about their success over struggle in entrepreneurship. So make sure you grab a ticket for that. There is a buy one, bring a friend, save $5 option if you are interested in coming to that. And I just want to say this, there's really only 3 left Social Connects for the year. And then I may be actually passing the torch. So if you haven't been yet, I highly recommend you get to one before I'm no longer hosting it. So kind of letting the cat out of the bag, that kind of moving on to some other things. But Social Connect Phoenix, again, April 12th. And then connecting through community is something that I have just a big heart for. I love supporting local nonprofits here in the Valley. So I want you to save a date for me as we get some things rolling. But May 20th is a Saturday. We're teaming up with House of Refuge out of Mesa and doing a fun project. Kids are welcome. We really love to let kids in and have them be a part of our community impact type program. So we'll be doing something around landscaping, painting. I'm not quite sure yet, but just so you know, May 20th is a date for that, and more details will be released soon. And of course, you know how we like to do it on Fridays, little dance party for you, and then we will bring Rachel in. So stay tuned. Hey, well, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that 30-second dance party. I know Rachel was dancing in the green room. I love that. Rachel, every time I have a guest, they're always like, having fun. So little kickoff music for you for this Friday. And yeah, let's go ahead and bring Rachel in as I get situated here. Rachel Jenks, coming from the Brand Boss Studio out of Colorado. And Rachel, I learned a little fun trick. So I'm going to see if I can do it. There it is. You and I are going to switch spaces. And there's a reason. I learned this from my last guest, Robbie Samuels, on from last Friday. He talked about all of these little things you could do to increase engagement and just have it be highly engaging on Zoom, on live streams. So he made a really great point. He's like, Tisha, if you switch us, when you start adding in like Rachel's information at the bottom, it's actually right underneath Rachel and not under you. So isn't that cool? No idea.
Super cool.
No idea that you could drag and drop and do all those things. So I told him today, if you saw the post, I'm like, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Rachel and I are going to do that. So yeah, such a great tip. So I just have to add that in as one little thing that I do once the guest comes on, is switching places with them, because I've always been on the left. So
That's cool.
Cool tip. All right. So, Rachel, I know we're talking today about the power of authenticity and personal branding, part 2. And you were a guest on Tisha Talks Live last year. And it's so fun that you're back. And I know that this is going to be such a great topic. I want to check our comments real quick because it seems like we have some cool people coming. Yeah, Luis Melendez. Good morning, Wonder Woman. Yeah, Royce saying, yay, Tisha and Rachel, truth bombs about to drop. Oh, yeah, Royce, you're in for a treat. And of course, Mr. Groovy, who is Luis Melendez, saying, hi, Rachel. Hi, Tisha. Okay, so I really want to say something real quick. So Rachel and I brought this into the green room earlier, and you could see her. So this is the bobblehead that I posted yesterday, and she's so stinking cute. This is actually from Mr. Groovy, a special gift. He came out to Arizona in February for the LinkedIn local event put on by Bruce and Mary, and he gave me this little bobblehead. And she's even got my branding on it with a touch of badass. Like, oh my gosh, it is so cute. So of course, for you, Mr. Groovy, I want to just give a big thank you, and then also to Kim Boudreaux Smith out of Michigan. Met her on LinkedIn as well, and she gave me this fun little Wonder Woman mug. So it's perfect because today we're talking about branding, and I have some great questions for Rachel. But if you have questions concerning branding and so forth, Mr. Groovy is saying, I'm blushing. Then I would really love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your questions so that we can add those to the mix. But the other thing I wanted to share, and I wore this especially for Rachel, I bought this shirt at like a Five Below store. If you guys have that. My daughter loves that store. So I find like we're always at Five Below. And when I saw it, I was like, I have got to have that. I've got to pay the $5, buy the shirt. And so if you guys could see it, it says, I am not for everyone. And to me, it's so true about branding. And as we get into identity and personality, I think that, Rachel, you can even expand on that, because I'll tell you this, that was my saving grace. My saving grace was learning this. I'm not for everyone, learning that lesson, because so many of us go into this people pleasing. Everybody's got to like me. Why didn't that person like my stuff? And we take it so personally, don't we? Like it gets to us. Like it hurts our feelings if someone's like, you're not really my cup of tea. So can you talk about that a little bit as we get this party started of, did you learn that lesson the hard way? And
oh, yes.
I think we all have.
Oh, yes, we sure have. Yeah. So do you want me to jump in?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah, jump right in.
So I think it's so funny that you and I were talking before we got on about people's perception and how that impacts what they give us.
Right.
We were talking about
your
Podcat. Podcat decided to come join the party, which is why I haven't kicked him down because, not kicked him down, but pushed him down because I think it's so interesting, right? Okay, now I am going to because he's all over.
And wait. Did you say his name is Podcat?
Yes.
Like podcast?
Yes. So his real name is Mr. Knightley, but he crashed through the door one time when I was recording a podcast. This was a couple years ago. And I said Podcat, like I called him Podcat on air, and it just stuck. And so that is officially his stage name.
Love it. Podcat. I was like, did I know? Podcat.
This is the thing about branding, right? And when it comes to authenticity and personal brand, and I am going to answer that question, but I wanted to start because Podcat kicked us off.
Podcat.
Because I feel like so many times we brand ourselves by Perry's back. We brand ourselves by other people's perceptions of us.
Right.
Which is not necessarily a bad thing, right? It's awesome when we see what they see in us. But I've had people say, so do you like dogs? I'm like, yes. I love animals. I happen to have a cat, but I love all different kinds of pets, right? And then as far as like people giving you stuff, people usually give me cat stuff, which is fine. It's cute, whatever. But like, that's not all of who I am.
Yeah.
And so I definitely blame this guy for it because as you can see, he is no stranger to the limelight. He's like, please, everybody, look at me. How much more in the camera? Can I be there
Seriously.
now?
Oh my gosh. My dogs, I always try and sneak up on them, Rachel. I have a pug and a boxer, and I always find them in the cutest sleeping positions, like laying on each other. And I'm like,
Oh,
I want to take a picture of you. And as soon as I get up, they're just like, nope. And they like run away. They're not podcat at all.
that's so funny.
No,
Yeah,
no.
Podcat was like made. He was made for the limelight. So here's the flip side of that. So I used to get really embarrassed about it. And I used to try to like keep him out of the room. And obviously there's a time and a place for that, right? But I know that we're all friends here, so it's good.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
but I used to try to like hide that. And then that's not being true to who I am. Like what you are seeing right now, welcome to my office. This is my life. This podcast is part of my authentic brand and being a cat mom and dealing with all that kind of stuff. And so that is part of my authentic personal brand. It's not the whole of who I am. It is a little piece of it. And I don't
Right.
think I'm necessarily answering your question, but I'm going to go in a direction if that's okay. And you
Yeah, go for
feel
it.
free to reroute me. So just a little side note, when I was thinking about this conversation today, I was in a conversation with somebody yesterday, and they talked about like, who would you want to be on a transcontinental flight with? And I was like, Tish and I would have such a good time. Like we just have the best conversation the entire time. And I was thinking about today. So anyway, so just buckle in. We're just having a transcontinental conversation.
I love it.
So anyway, so I think this comes back to the idea of personality versus identity, which I'm just going to go there and then we can redirect.
Yeah.
Because when people think about personality, right? Like that is how people know us. Here's the thing about personality. It's not the whole of who we are.
Mm-hmm.
So just like we were talking about, like, yes, I'm a cat mom. That is part of who I am. It's not the whole of who I am. It's not who I've been my entire life. It's not who I'll be my entire life. Well, who knows? Maybe I'll be that crazy cat lady. Who knows? Right? It's just a piece of it. And the thing about personality that I find so intriguing. Okay, I know you probably feel the same way.
Mm-hmm.
I love personality tests. I love all that kind of stuff. I love digging into like, ooh, what makes me tick? What makes the people around me tick? Ooh, I know why they really love that song that I can't stand or whatever it is, like, oh, this makes sense to me now. Okay, you're a 4, totally know how to relate to you now because I will bring down a little bit of my Pollyanna, So, I mean, it's just like, this is life. And those things are all good. And I think those are all valuable tools. But here's what they miss. Personality is so often shaped by what's going on around us, by the people around us, by the experiences around us. It's not necessarily who we are. So to give an example of this, so back in 2007 is when I was the director of public awareness for an organization headquartered in Cambodia that rehabilitated women and children who'd been trafficked, took them through, you and I have talked about this, like healthcare, education, vocational training, all that kind of stuff. So and then employed them in one of 3 different entrepreneurial ventures they had and helped them fully reintegrate into society. It was amazing. So here I am in Cambodia, visiting them, blah, blah, blah. And they were doing some team building. And one of the ladies who was leading the team building said, "Oh, I'll do your Myers-Briggs for you." I was like, okay, this was not what I came for, but okay. And here's the interesting thing. I need to give you a little backstory. So one of my key roles as director of public awareness for this organization was networking. I was networking at the State Department, at the UN, like super high levels, right? So I'm talking to people all the time. I was literally in Cambodia networking. So this lady does my Myers-Briggs, and it came out INFP. And I went, well, that's interesting. I've never really thought of myself as an introvert before. And I don't get me wrong, I do have some introvert tendencies, but I had never thought of myself in that context. And so then I was like, oh, well, maybe I really am. So here's the thing. Then the next conversation I showed up to, I had in the back of my mind, oh, I'm an introvert. Maybe I should be quiet and just kind of take in what's going on, right? And I started showing up in the world more and more and more as an introvert because I thought, oh, well, if this is who I am, oh, then maybe that wasn't authentic.
Mm-hmm.
And so I began to become very shy to the point, and this went on for years, like this went on for almost a decade. So when fast forward to 2016 and I launched my business and it's time for me to get back into the world of building relationships, which is called networking, right?
Right,
But you
right.
and I know what it actually is. Um, I was very shy and I
Mm-hmm.
was very scared. And I remember going into this networking meeting where there was like 20 or not 20, sorry, about 200 entrepreneurs from all of Greater Binghamton where I lived at the time. And I was terrified. And I stepped in the door and I wanted to turn around and run. And the reason I didn't is because I knew my mentor was there
Oh, you're like,
and that
okay.
I would hear about it if I left. And I knew that he knew that I was going to be there. And we were supposed to have a conversation that night that had not happened yet. So I was like, dang it, I have to stay. And so I did. And then I started fighting through it. Here's the thing. Do I have some introvert tendencies? Yes. But that's not all of who I am. So what's interesting to me is years later, I took that test again and I got ENFP. And I was like, okay, this feels more like me. And I think I kind of run somewhere between both. And this isn't an introvert extrovert thing. That's not what I'm trying to focus on. But do you see how personality can be so shaped? You know,
Mm-hmm.
it can be shaped by the society that we're in. It can be shaped by the family that we're in. It can be shaped by the friends around us. It can be shaped by, oh, this person says that you're really outgoing. And so now you feel like you have to be outgoing when maybe that's not who you are. So personality is so subjective. To me, identity goes so much deeper. And I know you and I could nerd out on this all day, every
Oh
day.
yeah, all day.
Because when it comes to personal branding, this is the thing for me. Like, if you look at what so many people think of personal branding as, it is adapting the personality of the people they're trying to reach.
Mm-hmm.
It's not showing up as authentically who they are.
Right. Hence the shirt.
Right? Right? You are you. Like, you're
Yep.
not for everybody, but you are for some people. Right?
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
you're like, you're not everybody's cup of tea. I'm like, yeah, Tish, but you're mine. So cheers.
Yay. Cheers to that. I don't know if we can get that, but yeah, I love that. And it's funny because you're talking about Myers-Briggs and I took the test back in 2015 and I swear I'm also an INFP at that time. And now I am an ENFP or ENFJ, one of the two, but still same thing where I was like, really? I'm introverted? And I'm like, maybe I'm an extroverted introvert or introverted extrovert, but same thing. Like I am one of those people that I can be life of the party. I can get up on the stage. I can do the things. I can host events. But then I'm like, I'm done. Like I want to go crawl in bed and like just grab a good book and be by myself.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's totally
Totally
okay. Yeah.
totally
You don't
okay.
have to be that person all the time
No.
on all the time. Like nobody can.
No. And whether you're an introverted extrovert or an extroverted introvert or an
Mhm.
ambivert or whatever vert you are, right?
Whatever vert.
It's not even about that. But I know people who've taken the Enneagram and all of a sudden have been like, oh, well, this must be who I am. Or, fill in the blank. I mean, there's so many tests out there.
Right.
Now, there
right.
are some that I feel like are amazing, and I'm not saying those aren't by any means. Like I love them all. I'm here for it all. I will
Yeah.
nerd out with you on it all day, every day. But what I want to encourage you is when you think of the authentic identity of your personal brand, personality is just one little tiny fraction. And is the personality that you're showing up in really who you are or how you think you have to show up?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point too. Let's nerd out on that just a little bit too. Yeah, because you're right. Like I think for me, I think we get on social media because we think this is what people want to see from us versus this is how I'm feeling today, good, bad, indifferent, whatever. And we just post because we want other people to see us in this light. And I think the shift for me, honestly, Rachel, was like, oh my gosh, I wish there was just I could just post what was in my head right now. And you guys will see it if you're watching today's lessons in my Lexus. I just recorded it. I was telling Rachel, okay, so little known fact. I pull my car out of the driveway, I record, and then I pull my car back in. That's the whole secret behind lessons in my Lexus.
I love that you just shared that. Like, it doesn't get more authentic than that. Yes.
Well, cheers to that. Well, and the other thing I was telling Rachel, which is so fun, because I am definitely a dog mom. I am not a cat person, just so you guys know. So don't send me cat stuff. I'm actually quite allergic to cats. But
here, I'll keep Podcat away.
I know. I like Podcat, like on your screen though. It's super cute. But my thing I was telling you earlier is the dogs were like, "What's Mama doing out there?" So they were opening the laundry room door and like hanging out in the garage watching me as I'm recording this. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, please stay in the garage. Do not run out here or Mama's going to like lose her shit. So anyway, it was hilarious. But, I think for me, the shift changed because I've shared with you, Rachel, that I used to have other people do my social. And I think it was just a fear and just I don't want to be out there. I don't want to put things out there. How much is too much, right? And so other people would curate content for me, and it was not any of my own at all. It was entrepreneur.com, or here's a funny meme, or we think this is Tisha's style, and zero engagement. And it was my coach's advice at the same time that she's like, you need to take that back. Like, you need to build your own brand. You need to have your own voice and identity. And whatever that is, whatever it is for you, put it out there. Yeah. And I think that she gave me the permission, and I want to give everyone listening or watching the replay, I want to give you the permission to honestly just be you, whatever's going through your head. So the lesson that I shared today, Rachel, and I want you to watch it because I'm very animated and I'm very mad, not mad, but just like, what? But I talk about an experience, because I'm a big storyteller, about the experience when I came out of the Walmart parking lot and the craziness that I noticed and witnessed. Ooh. And so you can see in that one little clip, the emotion, the like blood boiling as I'm watching this unfold, and how I'm like, this is a solution to all of this. This is a lesson that we learn in all of this. And, and I think, remember what we talked about, like, I think that a lot of people who watch some of those things like Mr. Groovy or Royce, I think that that's where they say, oh, there's that sassy Tisha coming out again. Oh, there's that Wonder Woman badassery girl coming out again, because that's how they perceive me. But so I think some elements of, how I speak, how I show up, what's my voice, what's my emotion, I think that people really catch on to that. And that's what they have dubbed as like the personality. And I'm like, great. I love it. Yeah. Great. Okay. I love that you do. I love my bobblehead.
They call me Spicy Rachel when that happens.
Oh, Spicy Rachel. When I'm I want to see what Royce put up there. When I'm getting a haircut, if I want them to talk with me, I say I'm in radio. If I don't, I tell them I'm in marketing.
Royce, I love that so much. Oh my goodness. Even Podcat loves that. He had to come see your comment. Oh my goodness. That's amazing. Yes, yes. You be you, Mr. Groovy.
Yeah,
that's a major ingredient. So here's the thing. Like, can I piggyback on what you said?
Yes, go for it.
Because I did the same thing. So for years in my business, I was like, okay, I don't really want to do this, but I know I need it. So let me just have somebody else run this. Mm-hmm. But it never felt like me. It didn't sound like me. It didn't. And again, like you said, there was low engagement. Sure enough, I had a rough day. I post a picture of me sweaty on a hike. I talk about my journey and like, hey, sometimes it's hard, but you keep going, And it blew up. And I was like, okay, because why? Because I was being me, not all put together and polished. Now, I mean, I am here for branding photography, 100%. I love it. I know you love it too. Like, that's an important thing. Yeah. And like, there's a time and a place, right?
Right.
But at the same time, your identity doesn't change, right? you can be having a conversation with all of these different people. And like, you can be having this conversation with me now in a shirt, and you can be speaking in a smoking dress later on a stage. You're the same Tisha,
That's
right?
it.
Like,
That's it.
same thing for me, whether I am, you know, I don't know if you know this now. You probably do because you've seen this on my LinkedIn. But I am now back in the world of ballet as well.
Yeah, you told me. You're teaching
It's
too,
incredible.
right?
I'm teaching again, which is amazing.
Aw.
So, and then at first I was like, oh, I'm not going to put that in my stories. I'm like, no, I am going to put that in my stories. It's part of my story. It's part of my journey. I almost didn't put it on LinkedIn, and I was like, no, this is huge. People who know me have heard that like my first career was professional ballet, but it's also been like something that never went away, even though it felt like it did. It was still in my heart. And now I get to step back into that. And people have been like, oh my gosh, that's so encouraging. So these parts of you that you feel like, oh, I don't know if I can show up this way,
Yeah.
might be exactly what somebody needs to hear from you that day. Maybe it's going to encourage them in their journey. Maybe it's going to inspire them to want to get to know you more. Maybe it's going to cause them to take that next big step that they've been wanting to take, right? Like that whole, I'm not for everyone. Who cares? You are for somebody. And when you see, Spicy Rachel's coming out now.
Spicy Rachel. Oh, Sassy Tisha. She's coming out too. For you, Royce.
Right?
For you.
Like,
for you.
when you show up as who you are, that's the thing. This is who your world needs you to be, is who you are. Every facet of who you are. Spicy, sweet, salty, like whatever that looks like. Introvert, extrovert, whatever. But so much deeper, because your identity is who you are. It's so much deeper than anything on the surface. It's so much deeper than who other people think you are or say you are or whatever. It's who you actually are. And when you show up as who you actually are, that's what inspires the people around you. That's what inspires them in their life. That's what inspires them in their business. That's what inspires them. That's like to make their impact. That's what helps you make your impact. That's how you grow your influence, is being who you are. Like, people saw the Wonder Woman in you, and your influence from that is huge. You didn't show up one day in a Wonder Woman suit and say, hey, I'm Wonder Woman today. No, you just are who you are. And you being who you are has encouraged and strengthened and inspired and motivated so many people, Tish. And so that's why people look at you and say, oh, hey, you're Wonder Woman. Let me send you this Wonder Woman mug. So when you think of showing up in your identity, it's about showing up in the fullness of who you are, because that's exactly who this world needs you to be today. All right, Sasha Tisha. Sassy.
Oh my gosh. That was the clip right there. I was making notes because I'm like, oh, I like where you're going with this, Rachel. Absolutely. And like you said, and I share this with you in the green room too, that I am not a girl that like goes out and watches all the Wonder Woman shows. I didn't watch Wonder Woman growing up. I don't like run to the movie as soon as it comes out on premiere night. It's none of that. But I think that my audience has seen that, oh, wow, you do these things. You're a great mom. Like, you invest in, in your relationships with your husband and with your friends and things like that. And oh my gosh, and you speak on stages and you this and this and this. So they've kind of dubbed that Wonder Woman for me. And I think that's where all the little gifts come. So I was like, wow, okay. So if people are thinking that, that I am this Wonder Woman Tisha, which I really do love that persona, I really feel like she's a strong character, strong, woman character women empowerment, and I'm like, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Like, I always love this, and I've said this to you before too, Rachel, that I really feel that people have really shaped my brand, because I wasn't sure. I think a lot of this go into uncertainty of, who the heck am I? I know I was there, and maybe you were there, and I know a lot of people. So I always make that recommendation, and thank you for the people who are giving us some love on Facebook too. We see your hearts coming through. That I always make the recommendation, if you're not certain of how you show up in the world and how others see you, you really should just do yourself a favor and ask. Please ask. Like, ask, when you see me, what do you think? Yeah. Because two things are going to either happen. You're either going to love that answer they gave you and say, that is exactly how I see myself too. Or you're going to say, I don't see myself like that. And maybe it's time for me to bring the real me. If you're seeing me as shy, introverted, but I know that's not me, then perhaps I need to make the change. That was exactly what happened, Rachel, in 2015 when I took that Myers-Briggs. It was like, oh, Tisha, total people pleaser, say yes to everything, no healthy boundaries. And I was like, dang, I don't like this girl.
Yeah.
I don't like this girl. I need to change that about myself. And it's okay. Your personality, correct me if I'm wrong, can evolve.
Oh, totally.
It can evolve. You're not.
Oh, and it does.
We know that. We're not
It
the
does.
same girl. We are not the
No.
same girls from high school, Rachel.
No. I'm so glad.
I'm not either. I'm not that girl or the girl in junior high with the puffy permed hair. Like, that's not me. So I want to say that this whole brand is like an evolution of you.
Mhm.
And like you said, I mean, you're cat mom now, but that doesn't mean you're going to be a cat mom forever. And like, you might see Wonder Woman now, but you might see Chips and Salsa in Costa Rica Tisha later, where I'm like, I'm done.
Sign me up. Let's go have Chips and Salsa.
Can I transcontinental flight now?
Let's go. Can I say something else about Wonder Woman?
Yes.
That I think is an important part of your brand that people do see, that is a huge part of who you are, that we haven't identified yet as part of this Wonder Woman persona. There's this scene in Wonder Woman where she says that her weapon is love.
Mm-hmm. Ooh.
And that is who you are. Like, she had all this, I mean, no spoilers, but everybody knows this story, right? So
yeah,
she had all this, like, I have to have this sword. This sword is what's going to do it. It wasn't the sword.
Yeah.
It was her heart.
Yep.
And that's who you are. That's what makes you Wonder Woman, is your heart and your love for people, and the way that you protect people, and the way that you motivate people, and the way that you bring change in the world is through your heart of love. Like, I see that. And I know other people do as well. So I just want to encourage you, that is part of your Wonder Woman brand. And then also to just piggyback on what you said a minute ago, yeah, your personality changes. That's the thing. Your identity doesn't change. Your personality does. And so a way to think about it is maybe that your personality can be, if done right, Not just like showing up as who other people want us to be.
Yeah.
My PC is trying to update. Let's not do that right now. Hello, authenticity.
Hello.
So to me, your personal brand is the expression of your identity in the world. And the more and more that we become, I mean, I know you and I have both been on this personal development journey. Like, the more we become aware of who we are, the more we can show up that way in the world. So I 100% believe it's a journey, and it's a continuing evolution of expression and growth, right? But it was there the whole time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't dictated by what somebody else said I should be. And so many times the way that we show up in the world based on shoulds is not who we actually are. That's a whole other thing we could talk about, is not shoulding all over yourself, because so many of us do, which is why so many of us don't know our personal brands. And that whole like saying yes to everything and people pleasing, how much of that, I would wonder, is based on feeling like, oh, this is how I have to show up in the world, or this is what's expected of me. Right? Because I know you and I have run in similar circles, and I face that same thing myself, right? This is what it looks like for this is the good way, we'll call it that, to show up in the world, is to do these things. But that might not actually be, first of all, good or healthy. Let's start there. But also, that might not be who you are. It might be based on somebody else's expectation of who you should be, rather than showing up as who you are. And we do a disservice. We think we're actually pleasing the people around us and serving the people around us, but we actually do a disservice to the people around us when we show up as other than or less than who we are. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I will get off that soapbox because I know we're probably about time, but yeah. Oh, see, Mr. Groovy. When I finally met Tisha in person, she made me feel as if we had known each other for years. Same, Mr. Groovy. And we haven't had the honor of meeting in person.
No,
but you better believe we're going to make that happen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I was just telling her that, so she's in Denver, and that more than likely that we're probably going to be going back to Denver, next year again. So yeah, super excited to meet Rachel in person, because it's going to be epic. It's going to be so epic.
We'll have
Yeah.
to find a Lexus or something.
I know. I sometimes just bring mine with and I'm like, jump on in.
There you go.
All right. So while we are winding this down, Rachel, I'd love to give you the floor and share how people can really reach out to you. I've got your
Sure.
website. See, here's the thing. See, it's right below
Oh,
you.
and
Such a
it's
cool
right for me.
flag. Yeah. And again, special thanks to, I know, Reese Sardina and Michael Koenig on Facebook giving us some love. Thank you for tuning in. I know that people are busy today. So if you're catching the replay, Rachel, yeah, Rachel came out salty, sassy,
Spicy, all the
Rachel
things.
spicy, all the things.
I am here for the chips and the salsa and the guac.
Yes. Yes. Bring it. I know I just had Mexican food yesterday, in fact, and it was delicious.
Ooh,
So
yum.
plenty of chips and salsa. All right. So tell us how people find you and
Yeah.
what's coming up? What's coming up for you?
Sure. I love to connect. I mean, Tisha and I are both connectors. We love to meet people. Best ways to connect with me are Instagram is one where I'm very active at The Brand Boss Show. You can also find me on Facebook and on TikTok at The Brand Boss Show. TikTok I am getting back into.
Yay.
So you will see more. I like to share just like a little nugget of wisdom, like a little thought for the day kind of thing. You can also find me obviously on LinkedIn, LinkedIn/in/The Brand Boss. Please feel free to send me a message. I would love to connect with you. What I have coming up right now is that I have 4 spots open in the month of April for my personal branding coaching program. I don't want to take anything away from Tisha. So if Tisha is your jam, please stick with her. If you are not in the real estate industry and you are not already working with Tisha and you would like to explore that conversation, I would love to help you get clear on the authentic identity of your personal brand so you can expand your influence and have the impact you're here to have in the world.
I love it. Thank you so much, Rachel, for being here and for coming back.
Thank you for having me. This was so much fun.
There are some guests that I'm like, I've got to have you back on because we're not done yet. We're not done with this conversation. All right. Well, thank you so much again for everybody who tuned in. We loved your comments and just being here today. It's always a pleasure having a guest, some of our guests coming on too, and the audience. And of course, Rachel just really enjoyed this. So thank you so much for being a part of my Friday. And I hope everybody has a fantastic weekend. Just so everybody knows, next Friday, April 7th is Good Friday. So I'm actually taking Good Friday off to be a good mama and take my kiddos out. So they're off for the day 2. So I'm chalking that up to just, we're on vacation. We're done. We're not showing up on Friday. So that's all good. Yeah, but we'll be back on April 14th with another special guest and excited to share. We're talking with Jim Hardwick, and he's talking all about sales and how to accelerate your sales. So that's always good when you're a business owner. So make sure you stay tuned for that. And we will catch you back next week or 2 weeks. We'll see you. Yay, cheers, everybody. And thank you again, Mr. Groovy, for the wonderful gift, and Royce. You guys are amazing. And thanks for being here today. We'll see you guys. Bye.